My name is Steve Woodward. I'm CEO of Nozzl Real-Time Technologies Incorporated in Portland, Oregon. Well, we're at the moment we're trying to overcome our current hurdle. It's been nothing but a series of hurdles for the past couple of years, and we've passed most of them, but the latest is the most stressful that we've been through. For the past couple of months, we've been dealing with co-founder breakup, which is, of course, not that unusual in the startup world, but it's one thing to see others going through it, and it's another to live through it yourself. We started as Nozzl Media a couple of years ago, and essentially what it did was stream any kind of online content in real time and push it out to websites. And we kind of went back and forth on the business model and the technology. But what really developed was that there were personality issues, characters, kind of rubbing up against one another the wrong way. I mean, there are interpersonal things. Nobody's really right or wrong. It's just that sometimes you have bad chemistry, just pure and simple. And that is kind of what brought things to a head. And I could see that it was probably, in my estimation, going to tear the company apart sooner or later. So I forced the issue a couple of months ago, and the result is that 2 of the 4 co-founders are going one direction, and I and the other co-founder plus an employee are going a different direction. So anyway, the breakup should be finalized tomorrow, which will be great. I think everybody can relax then. Well, it kind of got started. I'd been in the newspaper business for 30 years, a long time, and frankly, I was really frustrated with the pace of innovation, if you can call it a pace at all. I mean, there was no innovation going on in newspapers to speak of, and there was a lot of excuse making, and it was just frustrating to stand by and watch what was happening. And the opportunity came up when newspapers were downsizing for me to take a buyout and essentially put my money where my mouth was. I was a pretty outspoken proponent of change within newspapers when I was at them, and I just saw it as an opportunity to say, okay, here, well, let's do some experiments here and see what's possible. And that's when the Nozzl opportunity came along. I was actually invited into some activity that was already going on, and I think it was, as I look back at it, I don't know whether I would have made the same decision, but having gone through 2 years of putting a lot of money and time and everything else into it, but I think we're going to do pretty well. I don't think there were any pitfalls going into it. I spent a couple of months after leaving the paper trying to really do a lot of reading. I've read hundreds and hundreds of articles, blog posts, really did some analysis on what are some revenue models, and just trying to get at some core issues that I thought needed to be addressed. And so maybe this opportunity came along at a bad time. Maybe I needed another month to think through things, but this came along and I said, well, what the hell? It sounds like a good technology. And so I made the jump. I got excited, and that was, maybe I made the jump too soon. And knowing that I had a feeling that there would be some chemistry problems along the way. I mean, I sensed it even then. And I probably should have listened to that inner voice that said, you know, great ideas aren't everything. So that was probably one of the pitfalls. You know, listen to the inner voice that's telling you something. You know, I went through the Portland 10 program, which is fantastic. That's essentially a boot camp for entrepreneurs. I signed up and went through this past, or a year ago in summer, and I was actually at too early a stage as a company to have gone through that, and it really kicked my butt and taught me a lot about day-to-day boots on the ground kind of entrepreneurship. Now, I've been a business journalist for 30 years, right? So I'm used to taking Nike's earnings reports and tearing apart and really understanding where they got where they were. But you're looking backwards at a macro level, and that's nothing like actually making day-to-day decisions about payroll and strategic directions and tactical decisions, and just getting the damn paperwork done. You know, that's a very, very different animal. And so what I thought I knew about business, you know, really looking back, I could have put in a thimble. You know, I think this is probably cliche, but we're living on fumes, as all startups do, and we're just trying to figure out how to survive from week to week, literally, because you know, we're existing on no income. We had an interesting week because we essentially signed our first big paying customer on Monday, Universal UClick, which is the world's largest feature syndicate. They distribute Doonesbury and Dear Abby and Calvin and Hobbes. So we're going to build a real-time media stream for their comic site. 2 hours later, the Kansas City Star sent me an email saying, you know, we just don't see any value in your product. We're going to yank it from our site, and thanks, try us again in a year. And it was like this 1-2 punch where I was on top of the world for 2 hours, and then it's like the carpet got pulled out from under me 2 hours later. And I can tell you that we started pitching newspapers in August of 2009. We have yet to land a major metro newspaper as a client. Their buying cycles, well, they're suspicious of all new technology. Their buying cycles are 3 to 4 years long. And I've done a lot of thinking just this week. You're catching me at an interesting time, because our business model has really been predicated on going after major newspaper and media companies and trying to embed real-time streams on their sites. Like the one behind me is the Columbian in Vancouver, and they actually have been working with us. They wanted a Clark County site, a Blazers site, and a site that followed Washington 3rd District political action. So the smaller players have been open to us, but our strategy was really on getting the big guys. Big guys don't understand it, don't want it. Meanwhile, we're inundated with requests from bloggers and small online publishers for the service, and it struck me, why are we spending all our time trying to sell to people who don't want it? Maybe we need to be spending our time figuring out how to make money from everybody who does want it. And it seems obvious in retrospect. I guess fear of failure. I have always succeeded at everything I've done, and I somehow don't want to fail now. I actually have been thinking about that. The thought of giving up and letting people down, friends and family who have invested, it's very stressful because they've put a lot of faith into you, and it's almost like you have to succeed to at least earn their money back for them, and that's tremendous pressure, which also kind of messes with your thinking too. So you kind of have to sort of divorce those considerations from making sound business decisions, but it's very hard. You get panicky sometimes because so much is riding on the decisions you make day to day. So that's yeah. Wow. I don't think it comes down to any particular individual. I think for me, it's, I covered a lot of entrepreneurs as a reporter when I was a journalist, and because I covered startups, and I would say just mainly the whole universe of people who kind of put it out there on the line was inspiring. I always wanted to run my own business. For 30 years I talked about it and only talked about it, and it kept occurring to me the only difference between me and these other guys is that they're actually doing it. And what's to stop me from doing it and just taking the plunge? And so I think I look to that whole group as inspiring because they were actually doing it.